In this camera comparison, I have the Xiaomi 13 Pro, which has just recently released, versus the Galaxy S23 Ultra, also recently released, and then last September, the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So front-facing cameras right now, the iPhone and the Samsung, the Galaxy do have 4K video, which is 4K 30 at the moment that I'm using, and we get 1080p with the Xiaomi only with the front-facing cameras. And just looking at it right now, it looks like the Xiaomi is overexposing a little bit. Perhaps not. I'll have to check that, of course, on my monitor. And I'm swapping over audio sources, and I wanted to point out and make it really clear too that I'm on all the latest firmwares of all three of these phones here. So which one do you think is the steadiest, and which one has the best sounding microphones, picking up my voice the best? I'm going to just jog up these stairs here just to check out that stabilization, and maybe one of them is a little better. So right now, of course, I'm in the shade, and I'm just going to run here back into the sun so we can take a look at which one adjusts to the exposure changes the best. Now over to the rear cameras for video. Now with our main cameras, this is 30 frames per second. So walk along, this is just to test out our stabilization. So optical and electronic with these main sensors, 200 megapixels, 50 megapixels, and 48. So very different there on all three. So quick little sprint ahead, bit of a jog, just to test that stabilization. And now I'm going to pan around slowly, just to see if any of these are going to have problems with judder. Hopefully not. With the exposure changes, it can happen, of course. And what about the audio? Right now there is no wind, so there should be no wind noise being picked up, and that'll give you a good idea of which one has the best microphone out of these three. And this is now portrait video, which is supported by the Samsung and the iPhone. It is called cinematic, so this is in their top settings here. The Xiaomi doesn't support it, so it will just be normal 4K 30 video. So it should be blurring the background nicely. There shouldn't be any problem. Sophia, can you have a look at the daddy here, the camera? Great, thank you. Say hi to everyone. Hello. Now the ultra-wide cameras, this is 4K 30 again. Now with the sun starting to set there, this is a very good test of the auto exposure and if it will introduce any of those judder issues that I commonly do see, especially with the Android phones. And another little jog ahead to test out that stabilization. This is now 4K 60 frames per second, so it should look a lot smoother. And I did notice some lens flare reflections coming off the iPhone. Seems to be quite prone to that happening, but we'll see a lot more of that in low light, which will be up and coming too. So this is looking quite smooth. Just a bit of a jog ahead. I need to test out that stabilization. Normally when you shoot video, you should not actually be, of course, running. Now focus across all three of them does seem to be good. As I'm looking on here to this lifesaver, no real problem there. And then looking into the background, it locks onto that very quick. Back to the lifesaver. Then the background, no issues across all three with the focus. This is zoom video now, so no contest to the 10 times optical periscopic camera of the Galaxy S23 Ultra is the best you can see it's getting in the closest, compared to the 3 times zoom of the iPhone and 3.2 times of the Xiaomi 13 Pro. Now this is handheld. I'm going to just walk it back a little bit, and you see because of that optical zoom being just 10 times, it is a lot more susceptible to me moving about with the Samsung. So that's the trade. Now over to our low light video. These of course are the front facing cameras again, not looking anywhere near as good as daylight to be expected. So the stabilization on all of them seems to really be suffering. There's quite a bit of noise to them, some grain, and honestly I would not be shooting vlog footage in these kind of lighting conditions with any of these three cameras here. A lot more difficult for these phones. Which do you reckon here in low light looks the best? The stability, you can tell now with the electronic image stabilization especially, it's not looking so hot. And I am seeing that really annoying lens flare all over the place, especially with the iPhone, but it's happening on the Xiaomi and probably the least on the S23 Ultra here. As I move about, that little UFOs in the sky. But no, that is definitely annoying. I really hate that with the iPhone, especially that lens flare. They've just never been able to fix it. Onto our stills. So this shot here of Gerald from The Witcher, of course, I think it looks best with the Xiaomi 13 Pro. Captures more textures and details and his necklace there. But the other two shots, they're still pretty good. Still with our main cameras here, I find the Xiaomi to be a little bit overexposed. The S23 Ultra is okay, but when you zoom into a white fur, you'll see that it was the iPhone that captured it the best here, getting all those details without clipping those whites. Shot of this little yellow flower here, so you can see that the Xiaomi, it is just overexposed, it came out white, and there is some clipping happening with those yellow shades with the iPhone. So it's the S23 Ultra that captured this shot the best. Selfie portrait mode. Now, for me, the iPhone's a little bit overdone. Take a look at my t-shirt. It just looks a little artificial. So it's between the Xiaomi and the Samsung, and I prefer here the S23 Ultra, but Xiaomi's selfie shot isn't too bad either. Main cameras again, indoor shot, so all three of them look excellent. They're very good. It is a bit down to personal preference, but I did want to point out the Xiaomi got the colors more correct because the tabletop was slightly darker than the other two do show it. And I like the Xiaomi's background blur here. The subject being, of course, the bear here, the rest blurred. It's just a more pleasant, more warm shot to me. So with this shot here, I find the iPhone has overdone it a little bit. There's a bit too much sharpening. The orange was not as punchy and as deep as it's shown with the iPhone, so that does not win here. The Xiaomi 13 Pro, I think, took the better photo with the colors, that is. The accuracy is pretty much how I saw it. And then a close second is our Samsung. Zoom cameras now. So the Samsung, it's got that 10 times optical zoom. This is far superior to the other phones. And as you'd imagine, it is the leader here. So when it comes to the zoom shots, I don't need to give you a lot of examples because it will always be the Galaxy, which has the far superior zoom. This zoom shot here now is the Samsung set to 3 times optical zoom. Now you'll notice that with the processing, the iPhone and the Samsung, there's a bit of over sharpening going on there, and with the Xiaomi, they're not applying as much sharpening, and the colors, thanks to again that Leica Authentic setting, are a little more accurate with the Xiaomi. Portrait mode now, so it's the default setting with all three of them. Stitching on all three looks terrible, but if I have to pick one for the stitching, it's got to be the Galaxy with the left-hand strands here that are kind of blowing in the wind there. It managed to capture a couple of those a little better than the other two phones. Now looking at skin tones and just the way this photo is processed, I find that the Galaxy shot here is a little noisy. There's some noise coming into the 200 megapixel camera, the sensor, and the iPhone looks a little over sharpened, over processed, and I think the more pleasant shot when it comes to portraits here at least is the Xiaomi with the skin tones and just the overall look of it. Ultra wide shots now, so all three of them looking pretty close. So look at the way the sky is, and I think the sky was handled the best maybe on the Xiaomi, but the colors are the most correct with the Samsung here. The iPhone didn't get the color right. It's a little bit too cool than what it really was. And sunset conditions here, HDR test. It's a tough shot, but I think overall, if I got to pick one, it would probably be the Xiaomi because of the way the sky is rendered there. It just seems to be a little more natural. With this ultra-wide photo here, I want you to have a look at the sun. So obviously, sunset conditions here. It is difficult, HDR, for these little tiny ultra-wide lenses to be able to get this and the sensor. And it is, for me, the Samsung that did capture the sun going down here the best. It's the more realistic shot, although the white balance is a little too cool, the white. The iPhone has the best white balance, but overall, the way the sun was captured and the sky and just everything in general, it is the S23 Ultra that wins this one. HDR with our main cameras, so straight away, yes, the iPhone is the brightest shot. That is apparent, that is clear straight away. Now, brightest doesn't always mean best. When you crop in, you'll notice that I think in the shadows that the iPhone perhaps has just a few more details. The Samsung is the least amount of details here. The worst shot out of these three is the Samsung. The Xiaomi, what I like about the Xiaomi is, again, they haven't gone overboard with sharpening. Whereas iPhone and Samsung, they have tweaked up the sharpness clearly in this particular HDR shot. Things are starting to really get interesting now with low light performance. So straight off the bat here, the Xiaomi just messed up the white balance. It's completely off the colors. The sign where it says La Posada del Mar, this is meant to be a dark blue. The iPhone got the colors the best. Now when I crop in, this is a 300% crop now, you'll see that the Xiaomi is the clearest, getting, I feel, the best details out of that sign at least, but then the white balance is just shot completely off. The Galaxy, well, Samsung here, a little bit too much noise to it, I feel. A bit noisy, the sensor at the moment. Maybe they need a firmware update. The iPhone, of course, has the most mature firmware here. It looks good. It got that white balance correct. The blue's dark as it kind of should be. But the Samsung did do a better job of capturing, actually, that neon or the backlit La Posada del Mar sign. Ultra-wide cameras, so all three of them are terrible. These lenses are not really meant for low light at all, and the iPhone is slightly ahead of the other two here. With this shot, they are also close, also similar. Even the white balance is pretty much the same, but I'd say the white balance edge goes to the Xiaomi just because it gets the background lights there on the right-hand side a little more yellow and orange as they should be. You can see with the iPhone and the Samsung, we do have a bit more sharpening than what we do with the Xiaomi. But I think overall, the Galaxy S23 Ultra is the better shot out of these three. With this scene, while they all look really similar, it's actually the Samsung that gets it, because take a look at the lamp that is on the white wall next to those three windows. It's to the left of it. It's captured the best. In fact, pretty much perfectly with the Samsung here compared to the other two. The shot of the castle, it looks to me like the iPhone is over-sharpening a little bit. White balance is the best with the Xiaomi, but I believe overall it is the Samsung that took the best night shot photo here of the castle, capturing the most details, that street lamp just a little better than the other two. So these are my findings for our front-facing camera video performance, so your vlog footage. Definitely the iPhone 14 Pro Max was the best here. The other two, they would tend to overexpose. Rear video performance, the Samsung had the best stability, to my eyes at least, especially when I was just jogging around. The ultra-wide or the main camera tended to look a little bit more steady. With zoom video, so no contest here, and even zoom photos, it was the Samsung. It's got their 10 times periscopic optical zoom, and even though it's not a high megapixel count, it still was a lot better than what the other two could do. Now, portrait photos, the Xiaomi, I think it looked the best, more pleasant, although the stitching wasn't amazing across all three. The Xiaomi had the least noise, better looking skin tones, and I liked it. Selfie photos, the Samsung, but only just came through. With our daytime photos, so it was really hit and miss across all three of them. They were trading blows there. Often the white balance, however, was the best with the Xiaomi. And then our low light photos, that went to, I think, Samsung. It came through with, in general, probably the best. The Xiaomi was just off the white balance for low light photos. So do you agree with my findings here? Let me know in the comments. Do like and subscribe for more camera comparisons from me.